reduce those. But first, in order to get financial aid, you have to apply for financial aid, which means you have to apply every year that you go to college, every year that you go to university. It's not a one-time thing. So every year you're going to have to do this. The first thing that you're going to need to do is if you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you need to fill out what's called the FAFSA form. So, free application for federal student aid. It is free. It's available online. And it's a standard form that everybody fills out. It collects your personal information, collects your parents' personal information, and it puts them through a formula that we'll talk about a little later. That FAFSA is going to open up, so if you are a senior, you're going to apply for college for the 2025-26 year. And so, because next fall will be fall 2025. So you will fill out the 2025 FAFSA when it opens up in December. Now you can wait later. You want to get it in by March. You don't want to wait past March. But bottom line is you're going to want to fill out that FAFSA when it opens up in December. Now normally it opens up in October, but there are a lot of problems with the 24-25 FAFSA, and so the government has delayed opening the FAFSA until December, and hopefully they get it all straightened out. When you fill out the FAFSA, we're going to use your family information, your family income from 2023. So we're not going to look at your earnings this current year in 2024. We're going to look at your earnings and your parents' earnings from 2023. So we always look back 2 years. We call this prior year. If you are not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, but you might be a DREAM Act student, the state of California has a DREAM Act grant that could be available to you. So there's a separate application for that. It's similar to the FAFSA. It's going to collect your personal information and collect your parents' information as well. Okay, and that should be available as well starting in December. It might even come out in October, but I haven't heard yet, so we're going to say December at this point. Now, let me just tell you a little something about the FAFSA. There's kind of two things. The first is, before you fill out the FAFSA, you need to have what's called an FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID. This is your username and your password, but it's also your electronic signature. So when you fill out forms going forward, you know you have to fill out the FAFSA every year, and let's say you end up taking out student loans where you have to sign a form to say I'm going to pay those loans back. It is your FSA ID that is used to pay that, to sign for those documents. So it's very important. You can't share it with anyone. The student needs an FSA ID, and the parents need an FSA ID. Okay? Now what I recommend is you can, if you're a senior, you can start getting your FSA ID right now. Sometimes families have problems with these because there's identity verification that takes place. They're matching social security numbers, addresses, things like that. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and just get it and get it done. So when you go to fill out your FAFSA, you don't have problems because you don't have this FSA ID. We do a lot of FAFSA night preparation nights at local high schools. And our goal there is to help you fill out the FAFSA, but we spend about half of our time helping you create an FSA ID. So just really spend some time on getting that FSA ID. And you're going to have a social security number, an A number, email address, phone number, and if you have parents that are non-citizens, or you have one that might be a citizen and one that isn't, so we call your family a mixed status of family. There could be some extra steps that have to go through to verify identity because usually someone doesn't have a social security number, so they can't verify with the Social Security Administration. So you just want to take some time to make sure. That can take a little extra time to get that FSA ID, so you want to make sure that you do that. Okay, so once you do the FAFSA, once you get ready to do it, you want to have your FSA ID, your Social Security number, or your A number, your parents' email address, your federal tax information or tax returns, cash savings and checking account balances, investment accounts, things like that if you have those things. The FAFSA has two big parts. It has a parent part and it has a student part. One of the big mistakes that we see when people fill out FAFSAs is that they put the student information in the parent section and they put the parent information in the student section. And that causes a lot of problems. So you always want to make sure you know what you're working on when you're filling out the FAFSA. The other thing is you don't have to wait until you're admitted into a university before you complete the FAFSA. So you can go ahead and fill out the FAFSA when it opens in December, and you can have, there's a list. You can put up to 20 colleges on your list and have your FAFSA sent to those colleges before you're admitted, before you even apply for admission. That FAFSA will just get sent to those colleges, and if you never apply, then sometime it gets thrown away. If you do apply, then they will start packaging you for financial aid if you get accepted into a program. And so it doesn't hurt. You don't have to wait until you're accepted or admitted to fill out a FAFSA and send it to a college or university. So you can be thinking about places that you might want to be going to even now and where you might want to send that FAFSA. When you fill it out, you're always going to fill it out as of the day that you fill out the FAFSA. So let's say you fill out the FAFSA on January 5th. That is the day you're going to say, hey, what's my checking account balance? And you're going to put that amount on your FAFSA. Or, hey, what's my investment account? That kind of stuff. So it's always as of the day that you fill out the FAFSA. And then the FAFSA also uses IRS tax information. So users have to consent to have their tax information transferred over from the IRS into the FAFSA. If you say no, if you don't give consent, then you cannot receive any financial aid. It's that simple. So you cannot finish the FAFSA. Well, you can finish the FAFSA, but if you don't give consent, they can't bring that information over and you will not qualify for any federal aid. Okay? So very important that you do that. Once we complete the FAFSA, the government sends us something called the Student Aid Index. It's called the SAI. In the old days, we called this the EFC, but it's the government, and we like to have new names for things. So now it's the Student Aid Index. And what this is based upon the information on the FAFSA, we basically come up with a number. That number can be 0, that number can be, I saw one today that was 365,000. So it can vary depending on, now that family had a lot of money, so that's why their SAI was really high. But this is a number, it's an index that every student, everyone who completes the FAFSA goes through the same formula. So it gives us a way to compare one family's ability to pay for college compared to another family's ability to pay for college. So that's why we use it. It doesn't matter what college or university you go to, it stays the same. So if you go to a high-priced college, you go to a low-priced college. It's the same thing. And the FAFSA has two parts to it. It has a parent part and a student part. The idea is that the whole family has to pay for the cost of education. Each of them contributes towards the cost of going to school. So we use a federal formula for that. And what's really important is the SAI is not necessarily what a family's going to pay out of pocket for their college or their university. Okay, so don't get caught up on the number that you see. Some families see high numbers and they sort of freak out, like, how are we going to do this? But that's not always the case with what they get. Okay, what's really important is how does a family construct, or excuse me, how does a college construct a financial aid package? So this is the way that every college and every university creates your financial aid awards. The first thing we do is we take your cost of attendance. So remember that budget at the beginning? That is what we use. And then we take the SAI that was calculated by your FAFSA. So then we subtract it from the cost of attendance. The remaining number in green is financial need. And financial need is what the financial aid office at the college or university is trying to fill. Now some colleges can fill all of the financial aid, and some colleges cannot fill all the financial aid. It depends on the financial resources that are available to those colleges and universities. So, but bottom line is we try to meet your financial need, that green square there, and overall you cannot get financial aid that exceeds your cost of attendance. So if you have a $30,000 cost of attendance, you can never receive more than $30,000 in financial aid. That includes scholarships, student loans, work study, all sorts of things, okay? You could never exceed that $30,000 number. And you can't get need-based aid, which we'll talk about here in a second, beyond that green square, your financial need. So everything is included in this. So even if you get a scholarship from Frito-Lay to come, the potato chip scholarship, that's going to count towards your cost of attendance, and it will reduce your financial need as well. Now, some of you may be saying, hey, you're looking at my 2023 income, but since then, my dad lost his job, or we were in an accident, or my house burned down, or there's all sorts of situations that families encounter, and so there's a process for that. We call it special circumstances, and basically what we do is you fill out the FAFSA the way you're supposed to with your 2023 information, and then you can reach out to each college and university and ask them for a special circumstances appeal. Each one will have a different process in terms of how to do that and what information they're going to need. They're going to usually want some documentation. Usually just saying, I need more money doesn't work. But if you say, hey, my dad lost his job and he's been out of work for a year and a half, 2 years, or he got injured and can't work, then we can look at that and maybe adjust your financial aid to account for that to some extent. So special circumstances. All right, what are the different ways that people pay for college? Federal and state financial aid is probably the largest that most people think about. Grants. So grants are usually require you to have financial need. Usually requires you to have money in that green box in that example that I gave you. Have a number in there. And the good news about grants, it's free money. So it's money you don't have to pay back. So as long as you go to school and you're doing well, you don't have to pay that money back. Then there's federal student loans, which everybody has heard about, and we'll talk about a little bit more later. And then work study. Work study is a form of financial aid, and basically it means getting a job on the campus. And so that might be working at the library, it could be working in the cafeteria, it could be working in the financial aid office. We love work study students. But your earnings are a form of financial aid, and so your earnings might go directly to pay off your student account, or they might be paid to you as a check, like from your human resources department. So it could be a paycheck, it could be just a grant that's put on your student account. Then we also have institutional and outside aid. When I say institutional, I mean college or university. That's money that comes from the college or university. So a lot of schools will have what they call institutional awards. Those might be based on financial need. They might be based on other types of circumstances. Could be test scores, things like that. Scholarships, again, maybe you're the world's best tuba player and you qualify for a tuba scholarship at a certain college or University of Music. And so that can be a type of scholarship. So a lot of money comes from universities and from other outside sources. And right after this session, there's a whole scholarship session. And I might be attending that just because I might learn some new tricks. So I'm interested in hearing what is available for folks. There's also private loans. Private loans basically means that you're borrowing from a bank instead of from the federal government, like federal loans. And then most students also have some out-of-pocket expense. And so a lot of students are going to take a part-time job to help pay for their college. They might have some savings. If you have a rich uncle, it's a great time to start hitting him up to help pay for your college and university. Payment arrangements, those types of things, okay? Those are the three main types of financial aid. Let's talk about grants. Grants are usually based on financial need. The federal Pell Grant is usually the largest grant program available, and you can receive it for up to 12 semesters. Now, there's 2 semesters in an academic year, fall and spring, and you go to university usually for 4 years. So 2 times 4 is 8 semesters. But let's say you end up having to go a little longer, the Pell Grant can carry over for up to 6 years worth of college. So obviously you want to graduate as quickly as you can, but if circumstances mean that you can't go quite as quickly as you hope, then you can still receive it. So you can get up to almost $7,400 a year. This amount changes almost every year. Hopefully it goes up. We hear it might go up $500 for the next year, but we'll see. There's the FSEOG grant, the Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, which is another form of need-based grant. Limited funds, but anywhere from $100 to about $4,000. And then there's state grants. So the state of California is very generous with its grant programs. And so we have what's called a CAL grant and the REMAC grant. And you can get up to 4 years of eligibility for that. There's certain GPA requirements that you need to meet in order to qualify for that. And depending on the type of college or university you go to, your grant amount will change. So there's a smaller grant for going to community college versus going to a private institution. And again, that's because costs are different at these different universities. And then there's the California College Promise Grant for community college students, California residents, and you basically can get your enrollment fees waived by going there as well if you qualify for that. All right, let's talk about federal student loans. Nobody likes them, nobody wants them, but most people end up having to take out at least some student loans. Loans in and of themselves are not bad. It's what you do with them that can be good or bad. And so you only need to borrow exactly what you need to borrow. So you don't want to be borrowing extra money to pay for a vacation or do that kind of stuff. You really only want to borrow enough to get you through school. And then have a plan for paying it back. Now the people who have problems are the people who don't graduate because they borrow money and then they don't graduate with a degree, and now they've spent a lot of money on something they don't have. And so they're not able to get the job opportunities that graduates are able to get, that type of thing. So it's really important that if you're going to borrow, you actually have a real intent to actually graduate as well, which I don't know anybody who goes to college or university who doesn't plan to graduate. There are three basic types of student loans. There's the subsidized student loan. This is a loan that if you take out, let's say you borrow $2,000 in a year and you graduate 4 years later, you're going to pay back $2,000. So that's the amount that's going to be due for a subsidized loan. An unsubsidized loan, as soon as you take out $2,000, interest starts growing on that loan. And so if you graduate 4 years later, you're going to start paying back not only the $2,000 that you borrowed, but 4 years of interest on that loan as well. So a subsidized loan is always better than an unsubsidized loan. And then sometimes there might be a need for a little extra money. And so there's what's called a Parent Plus loan. This is a loan that only parents can take. So the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, the student takes out. This is the student's responsibility to pay those loans back. The Parent Plus loan is taken out by the parent, and it's the parent's responsibility to take it out and pay it back. And so those can go all the way up to the cost of attendance, minus all the other forms of financial aid that a student receives. Now again, just like any student loan, you want to be really cautious in what you do and what you're borrowing there. And that's probably enough about student loans for now. Okay, institutional awards, colleges and university awards. Again, these are awarded by the school. They are many times based on financial need, or they're based on merit. So merit usually comes from your GPA or from test scores a lot of times. And they can be more based on performance or talent. So athletics, music, drama, art, theater, all these different, you might be the best Lego builder. There might be a scholarship for you being a great Lego builder. Who knows? It just depends on the institution. So you can look at the different websites for each college or university and see what's available to you there. And then we have outside aid and scholarships. This is money that is not provided by the university or not provided through the university. This is money that's provided by private donors. It could be businesses, it could be service clubs, it could be churches or religious organizations. A lot of times employers will have scholarship programs for the children of employees. All you have to do is ask. Here's some resources. You can always ask the financial aid office and see what's there. Your high school counseling center probably has a scholarship list. I know some of the colleges in this area, high schools in this area have lists of scholarships that they distribute. And there's also online sources, FASFA and other places. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but here's a hint. And I say this hint is worth $394 is someone is selling a scholarship course on the internet. And so this is a free tip from that scholarship course that I did not pay for. But I listened to the free webinar. Number one, you don't have to wait to apply for scholarships or to determine if scholarships are available to you before your senior year. So most scholarships are available every year. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore or a junior, you can start looking for scholarships right now. You don't have to apply for them until you are a senior. But you can make a list of scholarships that might be available to you when you are a senior. So start doing some of that work now, spread it over a few years, rather than trying to cram it all in your senior year when you're trying to get everything else done. The other thing is you can do a Google search. And it's very easy. Put in your city name and foundations. Or put in, if you want to be an engineering student, you can put in engineering associations. So there are a lot of different associations. There's a financial aid association, if you can believe it, that hands out a scholarship. There's all sorts of these associations that want to provide money to students who are interested in going in those professions. So 2 Google searches there. Fresno Foundations. There's a lot of private foundations that might have a $1,000 scholarship or $500 scholarship that they give out every year, or engineering association, or plumbing association, or English association. Look it up, see what you might find. So there you go. And if you have a parent who is a veteran, they might also have some educational benefits that they didn't use while they were in school. And so those might be able to be transferred to you and help pay for your cost of college. It's very complex, so you're going to want to talk to the VA and get that all sorted out before you go to college. Okay, now I'm going to give you a sample financial aid package. So remember, we talked about sticker price. In this case, I'm going to give you a sticker price of $46,000, and I'm going to walk you through what could be a financial aid package for you. Now, this is based upon a family who gets a 0 SAI. So this would be a lower income family, but it doesn't, the methodology is essentially the same, but in this example. So let's say there's a cost of attendance for $46,000. That's the gift aid that you can receive. So gift aid, grants, free money. This family would qualify for a full Pell Grant of $7,395 for the year. A Cal Grant from a private university, $9,000. So you can see that already we're at about $17,000 in free grant money just between the Pell Grant and the Cal Grant. We have the FSEOG grant for $1,000, and then this university gives out need-based scholarships, so they're going to give out about a $4,000 scholarship because of this student's high financial need. And then this student, let's say, had about a 3.75 GPA, and so this university gives out academic awards based on your income and GPA, so they're going to give you $16,000 a year because you did well in high school. So right there, that's a pretty good chunk of money, just in free money that doesn't have to be repaid. Then, let's say you're going to work on campus for 10 hours a week. So each semester, you're going to work 10 hours a week doing something, and that's going to earn $4,800. So we subtract that from your cost of attendance. Then you can see you only need to borrow the subsidized student loan, $3,500 for the year. And you essentially have enough financial aid to meet your cost of attendance. So if you add all of those up, it equals $46,000. And in essence, we've covered your financial need and we've covered your cost of going to college and university. Now, not every family is going to have this example, but it is possible. This is why you can't freak out when you see the sticker price. This is why you have to look at the types of financial aid that are available to you. Sometimes going to a more expensive college can actually be cheaper than going to a lower cost college for your out-of-pocket. It just depends on your circumstances. Every college and university is required to have what's called a net price calculator. This is essentially an estimate of the types of financial aid that you can qualify for. And so you can find these at every college website. So a lot of times they're just on the home page. Sometimes you go to the admissions section. Sometimes you have to go to the financial aid section. But you go in, you put some information on there, like GPA and things like that, And it will kick out estimated financial aid packages for you, so you can kind of do what I just did in that last slide and kind of see what your out-of-pocket might be. Now, a bit of warning, net price calculators have a lot of warnings on them, so they may not be 100% accurate, because there are a lot of different situations and things. So you want to take it, but then you're going to want to work with the school as well to figure out what these costs are. But it'll give you an idea. Maybe you want to go to a school that costs $75,000 a year. You can go to that net price calculator, plug in your information, and get an idea of how much you might have to pay to go to that college or university based on your circumstances. So this is, every college or university has these. Now let's talk real quickly about financial aid college graduates, or facts about college graduates. A lot of people freak out over college debt. But the average debt is about $26,000 when someone graduates from college or university. The average price of a new car these days is over $50,000. So, a lot of times you can graduate for less than the price of a new car. But that is a monthly payment of about $300 a month for 10 years. The average payment for a used car right now is $543 a month. This student loan would be about $300 a month. And your car wears out, but your education doesn't wear out. And so it provides you opportunities and doors that can open to help you earn more than people who don't have college educations. We know that people with a college education earn up to $1.2 million more in their lifetime than those that don't. So when you look at $25,000 in student loan debt compared to $1.2 million in earnings, that's a pretty good return on investment for your time and for your money. So think about that. We also know that college grads earn on average 84% more than high school grads. Now, of course, there are always exceptions. Plumbers earn a lot of money, electricians earn a lot of money, right? There are trades where people can earn a lot of money and they don't necessarily need a degree. But these all come from the Bureau of Labor and Bank of New York and Department of Education. One of the other things that you need to think about when you're talking about financial aid and the cost of going to college is, are you going to be able to get all of the classes that you need to be able to get in and get out in 4 years? Right? Because most college courses or programs are 4 years long. If you can't get your classes, then it means you're going to be going to college for longer. And if you go to college for longer, it means you're going to be paying more because tuition goes up every year, fees go up every year, and you're not going to have the opportunity to work full-time to earn more money as well. So the longer you take in college or university, some people it takes a long time, and that's okay. You have to do what works for you, but the sooner that you can get in and get out and graduate, then the more that you can earn over your lifetime. So it's really important when you're looking at a college or university, can you also get the classes that you need and be able to graduate in a timely manner. Okay, so let's recap what we just talked about real quickly. You're going to want to complete that FAFSA form starting in December. You want to make sure you turn it in by March 2nd. The other thing that you want to do, if you're a senior, you want to go talk to your college counselors. And you want to make sure that your high school has submitted the Cal Grant GPA verification to what's called CSAC. So CSAC is the California Student Aid Commission. They're the ones that hand out Cal Grants. You want to make sure that your high school submits your GPA, because if they don't get that GPA and you qualify for a Cal Grant, guess what? You're not getting a Cal Grant. And that happened this year to a couple of our students where a high school did not submit the GPA, and they lost out on $9,000 this year, simply because the high school didn't do it. So even if they say they did it, just double check with them. You want to search and apply for scholarships, and then every school has different deadlines, so you want to just make sure that you are checking with that college and university to make sure that you are following their deadlines. Don't make any assumptions. All right, and if you are a senior Right now, you should be looking at colleges and universities, which ones are you planning on attending, finding out about their programs, deciding what you want to apply for, filling out those apps, all that kind of stuff. In December, you're going to fill out that FAFSA. You can also keep applying for scholarships. Depending on the college and university, and when you're accepted, you'll get award letters anywhere from January through March, and maybe even later, depending on what happens. Private colleges and universities usually have a May 1st deadline to tell them that you are coming, and so that's usually a really important deadline. And then in the summer, sometimes you might have a little piece of paper or something that needs to be completed that needs to be sent to the financial aid office. You want to make sure you get that in there so that when school starts in August and September, all your money problems are resolved. In other words, your money issues. Doesn't mean all your problems are resolved, but it means your financial aid is ready to go to help pay for your college or your university. And again, every school is different, so you've got to check with each college and university. All right, that was it. Anybody have any questions? Yes. That's a great question. So on merit-based scholarships, I said that if you're coming in from high school to the university and have a certain GPA, you might qualify for a certain scholarship amount. So that might be based on your GPA, it might be based on your test scores, it might be based on a combination of both. And then the question is, what if you're transferring in from a 2-year community college or a 2-year college? Would you still get those scholarships, or are they still available to you? And the answer is usually not those particular scholarships. There may be a separate set of scholarships available for transfer students. So one way to think about it is colleges and universities want students for 4 years. And so they may give more money to students who are coming straight to them from high school than someone who's transferring in and bringing in, basically completing half of the degree programs they've already completed in some ways. But there can be merit scholarships available, but it would usually be based on your college GPA, not your high school stuff. That's a great question. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming, and have a great evening. We've got a great scholarship session coming up here, so feel free to stay. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye.